Hi, it's Michael Cooper. I'm with the Private to IPO Partnership Network, and we are taking a look at and listening to CEOs who are leading their companies from the private sphere to an exit strategy. These are companies that are top-notch, gold standard in their industries, and know what it takes to grow their company to a successful exit. Welcome, Dr. Kathy Crothall, President, CEO, and Chairman of Aspire Bariatrics, Inc. Kathy, your company Aspire has developed an effective, low-risk, relatively low-cost system of weight loss for obese people by using your endoscopic device. You joined the company in 2010, a 5-year-old company, so it had progressed in that time. How did you discover the company, and what did you find interesting about it?
Okay. Well, as I recall, I met the principals of the company in early 2009 when I was at Liberty Venture Partners. Quite a few obesity devices came across my desk, I suppose because of my background in diabetes. And a friend of mine who runs a healthcare hedge fund asked me to take a look at the company. My first reaction was, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding. But then I went home that night and started mentally listing all the features I thought an attractive obesity device company should have, or an attractive obesity device. And lo and behold, when I thought through it logically, I realized this device had all the features I wanted. It was minimally invasive. It had weight loss similar to bariatric surgery. The complications were few and not serious, and it had the potential of being considerably less expensive than bariatric surgery.
Very good starting point. And as you've worked with the company, these things have proven out to be the case, and that has taken you right through the FDA process. You've had a strong background in helping grow companies from your days at Liberty, as you mentioned, Liberty Venture Partners. And then you were founder and CEO of Animas Corporation, which I think traded on NASDAQ and then was later sold to Johnson & Johnson. When you get involved in a business or build a strategy, do you plan out the whole development game plan with an eventual exit in mind? Or do you take a more tactical approach, build on the basics and let the exit strategy kind of take care of itself?
Well, I certainly try to estimate the amount of capital it will require to grow a company to the point that it will be an attractive acquisition or an attractive public company. Mm-hmm. And then I try estimating what the likely values are at that potential exit to make sure it all makes sense. If it takes, say, $100 million to get to a PMA and another $150 million to grow revenues, it's very difficult to make that an attractive investment. Now, having said that, once I'm running a company, I don't believe it's wise to count on an acquirer coming by and buying us at any given time. So I do try to always run the company as a self-sustaining entity. And in particular, a major emphasis of mine is to try to make the company as capital efficient as possible.
And that's what allows you to capture a good price when it's time to sell the company, isn't it?
Well, certainly a good return for investors.
Yes. And you sold Animas for just over $500 million, so that kind of worked out nicely. Now, when you were at Animas, a number of people you worked with, Audrey Finkelstein, Jim McGee, Monica Ferrant, they came over with you and Sean O'Connor to join you in your efforts with Aspire. How important is it to keep this kind of continuity in your team members and establish a team to grow your company?
Well, having people I know and trust, and most importantly, where I know their strengths and weaknesses, allows me to plan with confidence. Having said that, there are clearly pitfalls in hiring, quote unquote, the old team. It's easier to develop myopia. This is the way we've always done it. And it's easy to inadvertently crowd out new ideas and new people. And then secondly, you need to evaluate carefully each quote-unquote old person coming in to make sure they are truly appropriate for the new job in the new company. But again, having people I know and trust is a considerable benefit to rapidly growing a company.
And then when you brought in the old, quote, old team in to start working with the new team, I assume you did all kinds of cultural fit tests and getting the two teams to work together. It's so important. What kind of process did you go around to determine that the two sides of the team would work together, if you will?
Well, I'm not sure I have a process per se, but I think the nature of the people in both the old team, if you will, and the new team are such that there doesn't tend to be a lot of us versus them. And I think a lot of that is not a credit to me, but rather to the types of people they are intrinsically.
Kathy, you recently raised $12 million in venture debt funding from Hercules Technology Growth Capital. Venture debt is an interesting choice to fund a pivotal trial and a pre-market application. Was this in order to minimize dilution for your existing investors, or did you find that the capital market conditions in the straight equity market were a little pricey or tough?
Well, pricing per se isn't so much the issue, but this is a difficult time to raise equity for pre-revenue device companies. There are fewer and fewer funds investing in medical devices, and obesity devices have been particularly difficult due to the number of failed or close to failed obesity devices. On the other hand, now that we have a successful pivotal trial and FDA behind us, we've become a much more interesting investment possibility, and it appears that the investment community now recognizes the safety and efficacy of our device and the size of the market.
And you've got your CE approval, and therefore you're able to sell your medical devices throughout Europe. I think you've got installs in 10 European countries. Are the installs growing throughout Europe currently? Are you getting good market reaction? And are you seeing repeat installs from physicians and practitioners?
Well, our main thrust in Europe since the CE mark has been to develop the clinical data set to allow us to gain clinical credibility and reimbursement. At the time we got our CE mark, I think we had a total of, maybe 15 patients, so it was not a lot in order to go out and market the device. We have certainly gained a lot of credibility, and our thrust right now is to get reimbursement. We are definitely seeing repeat, what you call installs from physicians and clinics. But the challenge for us right now is in Europe that the self-pay market is limited. So reimbursement is of prime strategic importance.
Okay. And you did get reimbursement in one county in Sweden, I believe. And then you're working out throughout Sweden on the reimbursement model as a first country? Is that right?
That's correct. That looks very promising.
What would these devices price at? And do you have a recurring revenue model attached? Is there a consumable component to your devices?
We don't disclose our pricing because In Europe, products are sold through distributors, and they determine sort of the end user price, and then ultimately the clinics, whether it's U.S. or Europe, provide a total cost for the therapy, say, for the first year.
Okay.
But we do estimate that the all-in cost for this therapy for the U.S. in the first year will range from $8,000 to $13,000, depending upon the location and precisely what is included. We do have recurring revenues associated with the expendables for patients who are in their second year and beyond of Aspire Assist therapy.
Nice. And then, so when you got FDA approval, that kind of gave you the green light to start marketing through the U.S. market in at least a preliminary way. How are you going about, or how do you plan to approach the U.S. market from here going forward?
One, we're in the process of building up a small sales force to call on bariatric, what we call bariatric endoscopists, which are either bariatric surgeons who have endoscopic capability or gastroenterologists who are interested in doing obesity procedures. In addition, we have another group inside who will seek obtaining coverage with insurance companies. Understand this doesn't happen overnight. It's one insurance company at a time.
Okay.
And finally, we have a small team inside who's responsible for direct-to-consumer marketing to educate the public.
Okay. And what's the total universe of physicians that are potential clients on this?
Well, I would say in the near term, there's probably 600 or so universe of physicians. Having said that, from our market research, a very large percentage of gastroenterologists have indicated interest in getting involved in bariatric endoscopy.
It's a smaller number than I would have assumed, but you can always be surprised at how small the practitioner base is in some of these specialties.
Well, you know, it's what it is right now versus what it will be in several years. When a new specialty starts, by definition, you have a smaller group of physicians, and gradually that number increases with time.
Okay. And that will broaden your base and your market for your device over time as you push it forward, correct?
That's correct. And also as patient awareness grows and reimbursement improves.
Yes. Okay. Well, this sounds really interesting. You've got some clearly identified objectives for the near term. You've got obviously a massive market potential out there, and it looks like you're building a fantastic organization to push this forward. We would like to catch up with you again in 6 months or so and see how you're doing then. And in the meantime, some of our distributors, some of our people that listen to this might be well positioned to help you open some more doors in your market.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Crothall.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.